Now here in this video we are going to discuss how to create an IAM groups. So in the previous session already we have discussed how we can create an IAM user and how we can allocate a permission to IAM user to manage your AWS. Same way I'm going to show you how we can create an IAM groups. These groups will be helpful so that we can group the number of users and we can assign a permission on the group, so that whatever the permission you generally will assign on the group will be inherited to all the users into that particular group. So here we are going to completely create a group, add the users to the group and assign permission to it. Let us begin with AWS groups. So for that I'm going to start my Amazon Web Services. So this is my console which has been logged in, and now we are going to move into IAM as these are your recently used services. So I'm just going to move into your IAM from here, or we can directly move from here. So now here we are going to move into your groups, and I'm going to create a group now. So as of now we don't have any groups. Either you can click over here or directly over here so that you can move into the console from where you can create a group. So now I'm going to click on create new group button, and once I go here it will ask me for a new group name. So I'm just going to define a new group name as IAM group 1 and go for next step. Now you can see there are a number of policies. So these are your again the inbuilt policies we have, which are also called as inline policies. So we can also define the policies which we want to assign on this group. So here I'm going to assign a policy that all the particular users who lies under this particular group should have full control access for RDS. Or we can also define a number of policies, like if I want to define full access to SES service, I can. Same way for Amazon S3, read only access only I want for S3. So I can select this so that all the particular users who will belong to this particular group which we have created will have read only access to your S3 group, right? And if I want to define any other permissions, we can. Right now we haven't used all the services, so I'm not using any particular service. So I'm just going to define on S3 and go for next step. And it's showing you this is a group name, and this is a policy which you have assigned, that is Amazon S3 read only access. If you want to change this particular policy, you can again edit the policy and you can add or remove the policy which you require. So if I want to make Amazon S3 full access, I can do it. If I want to allow my user so that he can change the passwords of IAM users, so I can also define this particular permission. So other than that, we are not going to define any permissions for my group. So I have added two different permissions. So you can see here two permissions are assigned. Now we can create a group. So you can see the group has been created. We can again click into the group, and then it's showing you the users. So as of now we don't have any users. So if you want the users to be added from here, you can directly go and click this button, add users to group. So once you click here, it will show you all the users which are present. So if I want to add IAM test1 and test2, so I can select these users and I can add it. So already we have assigned some permissions, so it might conflict. So I'm just going to use those users which I haven't used yet, right? So these are the three users, user 1, user 2 and demo user 1, which we have created, right? And I'm going to add these three users to my group, that is IAM group 1, and add the user. So already you have added the user. Now here we have a tab of permissions. So we have allocated two different permissions here. So if you want to attach this policy, you can detach this policy. You want to simulate this policy, you can simulate the policy as well. Or you can also show this policies, like what the policy contains. So you can see this is a policy which shows you that it is created on this particular day, and sorry, this is a version of this particular policy. The statement which we have written, that is effect is allow. The action is for S3 get information, S3 list information, and resource will be any, right? So we have defined a read-only permission. Same way you can see the policy over here for changing the password of user. So any IAM user's password you can change, right? So that is again allowed. So if you want to add more policies, you can even add more policies. So you can define any inline policies over here. So if you want to add more inline policies, you can even policy generator you can use, as we have used into our previous or video as well, where generally I have assigned a policy generator and I have created some policies, right? So we can again create some policies like I want my user should be able to create a user, right? So if I want to define the permission for my user to create the user, so I'll just define an IAM permission. So for that I will click your AWS IAM. So we need to move here, and this is your IAM, right? And I want to provide an action that the user should be able to create the user, right? So create user option is available, as well as if you're creating the user, so you should be able to assign the policies, right? Creating a policy and assign the policy. I'll just attach a policy to users, that permission I'm going to define here, and to any of your resource, right? Add the statement, go for next. The policy has been assigned, and we can give the name to a policy. So this is your policy which you are going to define, right? Apply policy, and it is being applied, right? So if you want to create it as a group policy, you can create it as a group policy. So it is completely a group policy which we have created, right? So this is the second tab which we have seen. You have an access advisor, so you can again use this access advisor. So it's showing you what you can access and what you cannot access, right? So access advisors show you service permission granted to the group when those services was last accessed, and the information about this particular policies will be shown over here. So the services are not yet accessed. So if we access it, we can see this particular changes into this particular policy, so that we are going to see ahead. So already we have 3 users, user 1, user 2 and user 3. First I'm going to change the password of my user because I don't know the password of this users. So I'm going to change the password to custom password. Okay, apply, and same way I'm going to move into my user 2 security credentials. We are going to manage the password, enable console access, custom password. Okay, done. Next again my third user, demo user 1, security credentials. I'll enable console access, custom password, and I have defined it. So now it's a time to just check whether all 3 users are able to get the permission which we have defined in the group. So we can see here into dashboard, now the group permissions are available. So this is a group which we have, the permissions which we have, that is, these are the permissions which we have added, right? So I'm just going to access this particular permissions which we have added. If you move to users, and if I move to user 1, as user 1 is a member of group 1, so you can see all the policies are inherited over here, and you can see these policies are coming from your group, that is IAM group 1. So it shows you the complete details, right? So what the policies you have, you can check for the policies, right? So if the user want to check what the policy he has, so he can even check the policies using our group option. So you can see Amazon S3 read-only access, IAM user change password, and policy 1. So if I want to check what's there into policy 1, I can click here, it will get open, and in this particular policies I can also show the policy and I can get the information about the policy. So we have permission for creating the user creating the policy and attaching user policies, right? So I'm going to show you how we are going to get access to all this. So for that, I'm just going to move into dashboard and I'm going to get login with my user one. So I'll just paste it here and I'm going to get login with my user one. User one, right? And I'll define the password for my user one. So as we have passed the password, you can again move into your IAM service. And as discussed, we are not having the permission to view any particular thing, any particular groups. If I want to create a group, I won't be able to create a group. So it is showing you we encountered the following errors, as it cannot show any particular group created over here. And if I'm trying to create a group through user one group, and if I move ahead, you can see we encountered the following error for processing your request. Okay, next, create a group. So once we click on you're creating a group, so it is not getting created and it's returning the same page. And you can see that this is a user which is not authorized to create a group on this resources, right? But again, if I move to your IAM service and if I'm trying to create a user, I'll be able to, as we have assigned a policy for this user so that the user can create user policies, right? And you can create the user as well. I'm just going to give a name as test user one, right? So policies we have assigned here, custom password I'm going to define here. Okay, once we have done with it, go for the permissions, attach the policies. As we have not defined the policies. Okay, fine. So we'll go for next. We can review this particular policies, the user's details, and then we can create a user. So in this way, we have defined the policies for this particular users, right? So this is how we can create a group, how we can create, how we can assign the policies to the group, and how it's get inherited, that we have already seen. So automatically, once you create the group, all the users will be having their inherited policies at random. So this is how we have seen completely how we can create our IAM groups as well. So in the next session, I'm going to show you how we are going to create a custom policies and what is the difference between your normal policies and custom policies which we create. So inline policies already we have used. We have already seen how we can create a new inline policies. Now in next session, we are going to create our custom policies and we are also going to see its benefits. So keep watching and get upgraded. So in this video, we are going to see how we can create an IAM custom policies. So into our previous sessions, already we have discussed how we can create an IAM policies for a particular user and for a particular group, right? Now here we are going to create our custom policies. So we'll also see what's the difference between our custom policy as well as the policies which we have created earlier. So for that, I'm going to start with my AWS Console, and you can see by default I am on services. So into services, I'll just move into IAM, and into IAM we have all the different options. So we have already created users, we have already created one group. Now we are going to move towards our customer managed policies. So we can manage a customized policy for our customers. So for that, I'm just going to click here so that I can create a policy. Either we can click directly from here or we can move into policies and we can create a policy. So right now, from dashboards, I'm directly going to move into the custom policies. You can see you are getting the same page and you are on policies now. So just go for creating a policy. These are the existing inline policies which we have, right? So create a policy. So once you create a policy, you have three different options. Copy an AWS managed policy, policy generator, create your own policies. So if I move and go ahead with copy AWS managed policy, this you can use if suppose you want some existing policies and you want to modify or make some changes into the policy so that you can use it as it is. Now if I move over here for copying an AWS managed policies, So if you can see here, there are a number of policies which are inline policies which are available here. So I'm just going to access one of the policy, like we are going to use IAM access and select it. So you can see it is showing you the complete description. So everything is allowed into your IAM. Now if suppose I want to deny something into your IAM, right? So for that what we need to do is, I'll just use some scripts from here. So I'm just going to copy this statement from here and I'll paste it here. And into this, I'm just going to make deny. And you can see it is showing you IAM and which particular policy you want to deny, right? So if you want to go for creating policies for IAM users, so you can even check here so that we can get a code for that. So I'll just move into your IAM and I want to deny something, right? I want to deny a single thing, that a user should not be able to add users to a group, right? I want to deny this particular thing for everyone. Once we have added the statement, and see here you have the complete action, right? So I'm just going to copy this action. I don't want that any of my users who belongs to this particular policy should not be able to add the group, but he will be having the complete access, full control for everything, right? So I'm just going to paste it over here. Okay, so done. So already we have defined it as effect will be allow for everything, full access to your IAM, but we have denied only one particular service, that the user should not be able to add users to a group. That's it, and you can create a policy. You can validate the policy here. It's showing you policy contain the following. This is an error on line expected, right? So I'll just see what the problem it has. And okay, so statement, we need to end it over here. Post this. So it's showing you the policy is valid now. There is a problem was related to some braces, and I'm going to define a policy name as a different name now. So I'm just going to define an IAM policy full access with no permission adding users to group, right? So this is our policy which we are going to create here. So it is a lengthy name of policy which we have. So if you move to customer managed policy, you can see there is a policy which we have created, and when you move on the dashboard, you can see this is a policy which is available. Now for example, I want to assign this policy to a particular group which I'm going to create for one of my client. So I'm going to create a group with name client1. Right, go for next. Now I want to manage that particular policy and I want to add this policy to this group. So I can select custom manage policy. I have selected this policy. I'll go for next step and I'll create a group. Right, so it has been created, client1, and we are going to add a user to our client1, right? So I'm just going to add a user to the group, that is my test user one I'm going to add. Okay, so it's been added. We'll just change the password of my test user one so that we are able to log in using this particular user. Once we have done with it, completed, move on dashboard, go to this link, copy this, paste it over here. So we have already used your already existing policy, and maybe have made some changes into it. Sorry. So I have changed my policy so that full access control is provided to IAM user, except one condition we have defined, like the users who assigned to this particular policy should not be able to add a user to a particular group, right? So I'm just going to check whether we are able to. So if we can see here, if I go into IAM, everything is allowed to me. There is no denial message, there is no cross mark. But if I move to other service like your S3 service, I won't be able to see everything, and everything will not be accessible to me, right? So here we can see we have an error, that is access denied. So denial service is available, and but here in IAM I can see everything, right? If I want to create a user, I'll be able to create the user. So I want to add the user. I'm just going to create the user for creating user, that's it. So go for review. Automatically the permission should be allocated to this particular user. So as this user was already there into your IAM group 1, so it is showing you this permission, right? So go for next review and create the user. Now if I want to remove my user test1 from a group of, that is your previously created group which we had, that is group 1. So I want this test user should be removed from there. So for that I'll just go into users and I'll click on my test user 1. We need to click test user 1 and I'll move into the group, and we can see the number of group we have is 1, showing you 1. Okay, so we are into client group itself. Okay, so what we need to do is we are going to get login. We'll also check whether if I want to add any particular user to different groups, so is it possible for us to adding a user to a group. So we have a client 1 and I want to add one more user to client 1. So I'm just going to add user to client 1. I want to add IAM test2 and demo user 1 to client 1. I'm going to create add user. So you can see you are getting a warning that is, we encountered the following error, that your processing is request that you are adding this particular user to our group and this user to our group, which is not allowed. So whenever I'll click add user, I won't be able to add the user into the group. But if I want to go for any other actions, I want to change the password of the user, if I want to delete a user, even I can do everything, because we have a full control access over here, right? So I'll just delete one of my user which I have created, that is test1. You can say I'll be deleted, right? So I can even check our dashboard. The customer managed policy is been created, right? So I can move here, customer managed policies. You can see provides full access to your IAM via your AWS managed consoles, right? So this is the policy which we have created. So it's showing you everything what you have created, right? So this is how we can create our custom policies, where we have copied our complete existing inline policies and we have made changes to it. In the next video, we are going to see what exactly the other policies we have, right? So continuing to the same policies, if I want to check, like if I want to create a custom policies, so we have different options. So first option, we have seen that we can copy our existing policy and then we can create our own policy, right? So now I'm just again going to get login over here, and we'll see whether we are able to create other policies or not. So for that, I'm just going to create our root account user. I'm going to get login with our root account user. Sign into your server here. And I can see here again I can move into your IAM, again I can move on into your customer managed policies, and we can create another policy, or we can even go for updating a new or existing policies. But I'm going to create a new policy here again so that we can see the other options. So policy generator already we have seen, right? We can go here, we can select a policy, any particular service. For example, I'm going to add this Lambda service. I just want that LAS should be able to create by using this particular policies. So anyone or any particular user is having this policy will be able to create the Lambda LAS, right? So you can see these policies can be created in such a way. So you can give a name to this policy. Okay, so it is a new policy 2, right? So I can create the policy here. So it's been created. So we can check in our customer managed policy, 2 policies are available. We are going to see the third type of policy which we are going to check how we can create our own policies. So if you know how to edit this policy, if you know the scripts, how to be written over here, so you can use those particular option, create your own script. So you can create our own script in spite of copying the script from others. So we can see we can give a name that is custom policy 1, right? We can add the description. The policy will be completely created by me in spite of copying policies from Inline Qualities, right? So I will create our policy in spite of creating policies, right? So already we have done with it, and now I'm going to add some policies. So we have a policies created over here. You can see you can copy this policy completely. You can paste it over here. Once you have done, that means the policy has been added. Now if I want to check whether my policies are valid or not, we can also validate the policy. So it will check there is an error in this particular policy. Again we have an error with the braces. So I'll just check whether we generally have this particular policy error. So I'll check and can resolve it. I'll validate it again. You can see the policy is valid now. And I can check here what the policy I have created. I have created a policy that I allowed a snowball a service so that any particular user who is accessing a particular service will be able to cancel the job of your snowball. Next, again the effect is allowed for creating an EC2 image. So all the users will be where actually we have assigned the policy will be able to create a EC2 image, right? So this is the policy which we have defined here, and I want to create a policy. I can define a name. Already we have defined a name, customer policy 1, and we can create a policy here. So it is again been created, right? So these 3 policies are your customer managed policies. So it can be used as per we are going to create this particular policy, as we are going to use these policies, right? And whether this policy has been used or not, everything will be mentioned over here. So whenever you search for your policies for your customer managed policy, it will show you the description. It will show you the number of attachment of what this particular policies are, like to how many groups or how many users this policy has been attached. So you can check the attachment, like the policies which you have, right? So this is how we have seen how we can create our customer policies and how we can create our custom policies so that we can assign the policies to any of our groups. So we have already covered our group users policies. So in next session we are going to check about the roles of your IIS. Then we can start with your other concepts of your AWS. So keep watching and get upgraded. Now here in this video we are going to talk about how we can create an IAM roles and how we can use this IAM roles and where we do use this. So already in our earlier sessions, we have seen how we can create an IAM user and how we can attach a permission for those IAM users. Now here in this video, we are going to create a roles, and also we are going to see why we create this role. So if I'm going to discuss about your IAM roles and where it required is like, if suppose you are having a cloud administrator who is administrating your complete Amazon cloud, and as we know, our Amazon has different services like your EC2 service, and one of the examples I'm going to take, that is your simple storage service. So as we know, EC2 is a virtual machine. As of now, we haven't created any virtual machine, we haven't used any S3 service, but still for discussion, we are going to use this particular two examples. So EC2 is your virtual machine and your S3 is a storage area where generally you store the data in a form of bucket, and you create a bucket and you store the data into it, right? So whenever you want to access this particular data, you need to move into the bucket. So if I talk about different services, directly EC2 cannot access your Amazon Simple Storage service as it is restricted. So either what they can do is they can share credentials among them and we can use the service. But only the problem is that if you are sharing the credentials or every time whenever you want to access the services, it's not possible, right? And it's not safe for us. So if you want to access this particular services, so administrator can create a role and it can provide an authentication for to your Amazon EC2 service or any of the service we can define of your Amazon Web Services. And this particular EC2 will be authenticated to access your S3 service. So we need to define which is the trusted service we have for EC2. So automatically EC2 will be creating a temporary credential for accessing your simple storage, and this particular storage will be directly accessible by your EC2. So this is how generally we create an EC2 roles, and this roles will be allowing two different services to communicate with each other with a temporary key. So here we are going to do the same thing. We are going to create a role and we'll see how we can combine two different services and how these two services can communicate with each other. So let us begin with your Amazon services. So here we are into AWS, and again we are going to move into your IAM now. Into IAM, we need to move into your roles. So we have already seen how we can create a group, users, policies, and now we are on roles. So as of now, there are a number of roles have been created. So I'm just going to delete these roles and we will create a new role. Okay, so we are going to create a new role here. Now again, when you create a role, it's asking you for which service you are going to create a role. So as we have discussed into our PPT, that this is particular role which we have, right? So this is your Amazon EC2 role, and I'm going to create a EC2 role so that it can access your Amazon service, right? Amazon storage service. So here we have different roles. So this is the first role on which we are going to authenticate the service. So you have EC2, you have Lambda, you have Redshift, you have your service roles, code build. There all services are listed here. So these all services are of your AWS services. Now I'm going to select EC2 as we have taken an example, and we are attaching a policy for accessing this role. So you can attach any of the policies, like what exactly you want to access, right? So I'm going to attach a policy that we can access to your S3. So we need to find Amazon S3, and we want that this particular S3 full access should be provided to your EC2, right? So I'm going to select S3. If you want to define any other services like SES, SES, SNS, so you can define even those services. But in example we have taken, we are going to access your S3 service. So I'm moving into S3 and go for next step. So you can create a role and you can define a name for the role. Now it's showing you this particular role allows your EC2 instance to call WS services on your behalf, right? So directly it will call the WS services, AWS service of your S3, so that directly it is accessible to your instance created, that is EC2 instance created, right? So there is a trust has been built. So the identity provider ec2.amazonaws.com, right? So trust entities are provided. Create a role now, and the role has been created, right? So once you click here, you can see all the things here. If you want to attach more policies, you can attach more policies. You can check for the trust relationship, right? So there is a trust has been built. If you want to edit the trust, you can even edit this trust. For example, like we are able to access EC2 Amazon services, right? Assume roles. So we are using directly to assume this particular role from the other particular role which we have, right? Same way, if you want to edit some relationship, you can even edit it, but here we are not going to do anything. Access advisor we have, so it's again showing you and tracking whether we are accessing the service or not. If you want to revoke any session, you can directly revoke the session immediately if someone is accessing it. So if you want to revoke it, just you need to click here and it will be revoked. So accept it. We don't have any active sessions right now, so I won't be able to revoke anything. So I'm not able to, so there will be nothing revoked. But if you see this particular complete tabs, whichever we have, it shows you the complete description about the role which we have created. In coming videos, we are going to see how we can assign this role to the EC2 service. On which EC2 service we need to assign, that we are going to see, as we have not created any EC2 instance. So we won't be able to attach this, but we will be attaching it once we have completed with creating your EC2 instance. So let us go on dashboard till then, and we can check here the number of roles created is again updated over here. And if you want to check the roles again, you can come here and you can check for the roles available. So this is how we can create the role for your AWS services, and whenever we want to attach this role for any of the AWS instance, or we can say any virtual machine which we are going to create onto your AWS, and there we will assign this particular role, so that AWS instance will be able to connect to your storages. So this is how generally we create a role into your IAM. So this we have completed with it. In the next session, we are coming up with more practical. So keep watching and get upgraded. So in previous video, we have seen how we can create a role, right? Now again, if we talk about creating a role, so we have clicked on this particular button for creating a new role into your IAM. So I'm into IAM service, and again I'm going to your roles, and I'm going to click on create new role. So if you remember into our previous video, we have used this option, create your AWS service role. So this we have created our service role, right? Same way we have three different other options available here. If suppose I select for the second option, you can see here there is two options available. That is for Amazon Web Services service linked role. So you can even create, use already service linked role. So you can use your Amazon LEX both. Same way Amazon LEX and channels. So they are already linked with each other. So you can create and manage your voice enabled bots on your behalf. Same way over here, you can create and manage boot channels on your behalf. So this is how generally they are by default linked. So if you want to if you want to use this particular linked roles, so you can use it. It's just like your inline roles which are available. Same way here, this is two roles which are already available. You can use these roles. Next we have that is role for cross account access. Now if suppose we have two different accounts, and I want that a resource of one account should be used by other account, and he should be able to update those accounts. So that can be done from here. So you have two different options available. You can provide access between your AWS accounts owned by you, or you can provide the access between your AWS account and a third-party account. So if suppose you have two different accounts, like your your development account, and one we can say like you have a production account, right? So in your development account, you have two different groups, testers and developers. So they are working together and they are going to store the data, and they want to access the storage which is located into your production account. So you can see here, this is a S3 bucket where these people are going to store their data, right? So production account will create an update application role which will be created by the administrator, so he can provide and read write access to production app bucket to these people, right? So once this particular production app has been created, when this role has been created, so automatically this development account will have the access or the permission to access this S3 bucket by using a role update app role, right? So once we have defined the permission, and once these particular developers are attached to this particular S3 bucket role, so when they request to access this particular role, first it will ask for the credentials. The credentials will be returned to this particular users or developers. Once they have done with it, the updates will be moved directly to your S3 bucket. So if we are going to store the data, same way if you want to retrieve any particular data stored into your S3 bucket, same thing happens, only here it will request for retrieving the data, and the data will be retrieved and accessible by the developer or tester groups. So this is how generally your roles work over here. So you can integrate, or you can say you can form a link between two different services, two different accounts here. Same way if you have any third-party AWS account, like for example you have any customer who want access to your resources, so you have created an account for those particular customers to access any particular resource. You can even define the roles for those particular third-party accounts. So it allows your IAM users from a third-party AWS account to access this account and enforce use of external ID, right? So this is the external ID will be used for accessing this third-party account. If you want any description about this external IDs, you can directly open a link and it will show you the description what exactly it means. Next, if I talk about the fourth type of your role, that is role for identity provision access. So as we know, if someone is requesting us for any particular service, so we should identify those particular user who is able to access our service or not. So while if I am getting a request, I can grant access to any particular user to your web identity providers, like you have users from your Amazon, login from your Amazon, Facebook, Google. So if they have any ID on web, so by default they will have access to this particular service which you are going to deploy. Next we have that is grant web single on access to SAML providers. So if you talk about, so this particular access service provides you a security assertion markup language provider to access your single sign-on services. So for that, you can see here, it allows user from SAML provider to access the line of AWS account using your AWS Management console. Next we have API access to your SAML. So we have two different access here. Directly you can provide an access to the SAML providers so that they can have a single sign-on login to your web, and same way you can also use your particular login you can provide through your API access. So these are the two things which we have seen. So these are the number of type of role which we generally can create. So there are four type of role. Your service role, directly AWS service role, which will allow you to access from one service to other service. Your service linked role, so by default they are linked, so you can use the services. Cross account access role, so if you have multiple accounts, either you have your own AWS account or your third party AWS account, so you can even share the resources among them. Next we have that is a role for identity provider access. So as we have said, like if someone requests you for the service, you can allocate default access to those particular services. Like if any providers are from your web, so you can even provide access to them. By default they will have a grant access. If you want SAML provider should able to access, same way they will be able to. Same for API also we have seen. So these are the number of roles which we are going to create, and we can see how we are going to create the practicals into practicals. Simultaneously we are going to link these roles as well, so simultaneously we are going to create the roles. So here we have completed how we can create our roles into your IAM, and how we can secure data, how we will be able to access our resources located into different accounts or in different services generally we have. So we know now how we can use our role, where the role should be used, how we are going to attach the roles, and how we are going to use the role. So as of now, we have seen everything. Now in the next session, so we are going to see much more features of your AWS. So keep watching and get upgraded. Now here in this video, we are going to discuss about your KMS, which is called as Key Management Services. So as we know, if you are going to store the data onto your instances, which we are going to create, so if you're keeping the data, if you're keeping some important information, so you're creating a server, you will be requiring some security. So here we are going to create a security so that whenever you want to connect to your instance, we will be using a shared key. Unless you have a shared key, you won't be able to access your data. So KMS is a particular service of your Amazon Web Services, which provides you a easy to control and add your encrypted keys for any of your applications, any of your instance which you are going to create, as well as the databases. It uses a hardware security model so that whenever you want to connect, you will be having a key which you need to locate at your hardware, and then you can share that particular key with your instance which you have or the database which you have. You can connect those keys at the client, and then you will be able to connect it. So the security creates two copies of a key. One will be located at your AWS, another will be located from where we are going to access the service. So once you provide the key, you will be able to access the service which you require. So how we are going to use this KMS? So it is a complete or fully managed service. So you can, focus on your encryption needs for your applications, while your AWS handles availability, your physical security, as well as the hardware maintained underlying your infrastructure. Now, if again you talk about your KMS features, so as we have discussed, it provides a key to you so that this particular control of this particular key is very easy to manage by you. So you just need to save your key at a proper location, and whenever you want to share with any of your clients so that he wants to access it, or any particular user who wants to access your instance, you just need to share a copy of this key to him so that he will be able to access it directly. Now again, if I talk about the KMS feature, it is centralized control for encrypted keys. So your encrypted keys are located at central location. As I said, it is located at your cloud itself, that is in Amazon itself, and every key has a set of two pairs, where generally one will be located with your Amazon Web Services, and you can share the other key with the customer, or we can say the user which you want to use it. Next, again, if I talk about your KMS feature, again it contains a single view usage. So you will be able to see all the keys aligned in the same console. So you don't need to find the keys into different applications or database services which you have. So each and every key is located at a single view. So you will be able to see all the keys at one point of time itself. Next, if I talk about KMS feature, as I said, you can even implement a key rotation so that your keys get rotated. You can, change the keys for different applications or different instance which you are going to create. Next, again, if I talk about your KMS feature, this particular KMS feature provide you an encrypted, which will be managed by your API or any of the console. So if you want to access directly through your console, you can create your console key and you can manage it, or you can even use your some APIs for managing this particular key or for accessing our service. Next, again, if I talk about the KMS key integration, it is integrated with some of the services like S3. So by default in storage, you can connect your you can create a key pair, and you can store or secure our S3 services, that is your storage services. Next, we have Amazon Redshift. It is again integrated with your KMS key. Your Elastic Block Storage, which is nothing but your disk which you are going to connect onto your instances. By default disk we have, that is your EBS. So you can also secure the data which is stored into your EBS disk, that is nothing but your instance, default instance. Next, we have RDS. So even your database can be protected using this particular KMS integration key, as well as your Elastic Transcoder is again one of the service which has KMS integrated with it, as well as your work mail. So these are the services which are by default integrated with your KMS. Next, again, if I talk about your KMS integrations, it is again integrated with the most of your client applications, like your from where we are going to access our KMS services or any of the services like your AWS SDKs we can use for protecting our data, we can use for accessing our services. Next, even through your command line interface we can access our services and each will be protected to us. Next, again, if I talk about your KMS, it's not only integrated with the existing services of your MSN, but also if suppose you have created some applications, you can again define the application security on application, or again you can define an application security, or you can say a data security where generally you have stored your data, or the application forms which are stored over here, or the tables which are stored over here on your any of your databases. It can be your MySQL, it can be your PostgreSQL, it can be your SQL server, any server or any of the S3 services. So your application generally has some location where it generally stores data, right? So each and every data what you store into your storage can also be protected using this KMS service. Next, again, if I talk about the cost of the service, that is your KMS service. So as we know, each and every key generally which we create into your KMS costs $1. So the number of keys you generally create, automatically it will create $1 it will be costing you. Now one key is completely free. Now if suppose you are using only one key, it is completely free of use for you so that you can access this particular services. And then the service what exactly you are accessing 10,000 API request. If you complete, after that you need to pay just 3 cents so that it is chargeable after 10,000 API. So it is most enough if you're not a frequent user of your Amazon Web Services, right? So for free tier it is very beneficial. Next, again, if I talk about KMS key integrity, as we know, our console contain your KMS, where generally all the particular security keys are not only located into your AMS cloud, so that generally it is saved. So it is saved into different regions, different zones as well. Unlike your other particular security concept generally which we have, which stores the data onto your different locations like your disk. So it doesn't support anything stored to be on disk, none in your RAM itself, or not in your system. So everything is located into your different Amazon console, where generally everything is managed by a different team which we have with your AWS, right, which will ensure that your data integrity is maintained, as well as your whatever data you have, it will be secured in certain locations. If I talk about the KMS, there are much more things what we can do into your KMS. We can create a key, we can again share this key with the client can access and can generate the key for accessing your Amazon Web Services that we are going to see into our next session. So keep watching and get upgraded. So into our previous video already we have discussed about what the KMS is, right, and where they are used and what's the use of it. Now here practically we are going to see how we are going to create a KMS and what the encryption keys generally we can create it over here, and how we can use this encryption keys into different services. So all we are going to see here. So for that I'm going to move into my AWS Console here. I've already logged in through my root account, and I'm going to create one user. That is my IAM user. I'll create one user here with name test user 1. I'm going to give complete login to this particular user from both the interfaces, console and programmatic access. No need to change the password. Permission is applied. Existing policies directory. We'll just define the complete administrative access. No issues. And once we have done, we'll go for review and create a user. So I have created one admin user here, right? And this is my admin user created, and this is my test user 1, which has the complete administrative rights. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a role. I'll create a role, create a new role here. What I'm going to do, I'm going to create a KMS key now. So how we are going to create a KMS key? So here into this particular console itself. So here, so now we have created this user, right? Now what we need to do is we need to create a key. So how we are going to create a key? You can see here into left hand side panel, you have an encryption key option available. So you just need to click on this. Once you click on this, a different consoles comes in, and here you have an option to create a key, and here it is listing out all the keys are available and in which region these keys are available. So into different regions you have different keys, right? So I'm going to create a key into Asia Pacific Mumbai. So you can see it is having two different separate keys, right? I'm going to create a new key in Mumbai. So for different regions you can create a different keys. Now first thing it's asking you, that's create an alias and description. So here you need to define a name, the name from which you are going to identify the key. So I'm just going to define a name as test key 1, and it is better if you give the description so that you come to know what exactly the key contains and for which service you have created the key or for which user you have created the key. So I'm just going to define a description, test key for admin user for S3 service. Okay, so I've defined the description here, and into advanced option it is asking you whether you want to create a key material origin as KMS or some external keys. So I'm not going to define any external keys over here. I'm going to create a KMS key. Go for next step. Next you can add the tag so that it identifies what exactly the cost of this particular resources, or what exactly name, the identification name we can define here. So you can add a tag to help to organize and identify this key and help track your AWS costs. So as we discussed, like for identifying which particular key it is and what's the cost of this key, because how much it has been used, we can define a name here, cost of test key 1, and you can define some value. For example, this is a value which we have. Next, it's asking you which user is an administrator for this particular key. So I want my admin user should be have an administrative permission so that he can manage this particular key well. So you can see here, choose the IAM user and role that can administer this key through your KMS API. You may need to add additional permission for these users or role to administer this key from this console, right? So this is what we have selected, like this is the user who is going to administer this particular key, and same way we have a key deletion option. So whether you want this particular administrator to be able to delete the key or not. If you uncheck it, it won't be able to delete the key. If you check it, this particular user will be able to delete the key. So we want the user should be able to delete the key in case like we are not using the key. So it should not, the AWS should not cost for this key which has been created. So immediately the key can be deleted by your admin. Next, go for next step. Define key usage permission. So who can use these keys? So I'm just going to define admin. I'm not going to define test user 1. Even though you can define test user 1 because it will be completely administered and managed by admin, and this user can use this key. So we can share one key to multiple users. But in this case, I'm not going to show you because I'm going to show you some practical so that I will show you whether this particular user is able to access this key or not. So I'm not going to check it out. Go for next step. This is the policy which we have. You can completely go through the policy, what is allowed, and nothing is denied actually over here. So to manage this key, your KMS, everything is allowed. And we have added only one user, so everywhere you can see only one user who is able to use this key as well as who is going to administer this key. Go for finish. So we have successfully created our key now. There is no error, right? So test key 1 has been created. you can click on this particular key again and you can check what the things you have added over here. So you can see this is enable case key 1, is a description, right? You have a key policy who is an administrator. So if I want to add more administrator, I can also define the permission. I can make the changes to it. If I make the changes, the save will be enabled, but I don't want to make any changes here. Again, the same key users. If you have any external accounts, you can even add the external accounts. We don't have anything right now. Once we have done with it, we can again go back to the dashboard or encryption keys. So we have our key ready now and we are going to use this key. So for that, if suppose I am directly using it through my root user, I won't be able to use this key. I need to get logged into the administrator, because for key 1, the administrator and the user who can use the particular key is only admin, right? So we need to get logged in through your admin. So for that, we know we have already seen to our earlier practicals, the IAM user can get logged in by just copying this link mentioned on the dashboard of your IAM and just copy it and paste it on your URL. So once you have done with it, it will prompt you for admin password, right? User N, admin, and its password. So I'm just going to define the password of my admin user and sign in. So once you sign in, we can check which are the encryption keys available. So you can see these are the keys available into our region. We are going to check the key available here. So your test key 1 is available. Next, we are going to move into our services. So I'm just going to move to S3 service, where I'm going to define this particular key, and we are going to attach this key for a file into our S3 bucket. So into our S3 bucket, we have a bucket db bucket 2017. This is a file, hello, has been attached to it. I'm just going to delete this file. And I'm going to add a new file here. So for that, just we need to click upload. First is select the file which you need to add. So I'm just going to create a new file here. Sorry. Test file 1, and I'm going to write something into this file. This is a KMS demo file. Okay, so we have saved this and I'm going to upload this file. Okay, go for next. Set permissions. So we are going to set one file permission for this particular file. For this particular file containing into our db bucket 2017. Right. So here I'm going to store the class. So here this is the which we are going to see later on. Here we are going to see the encryption part. So this we will understand once we start using RS3. So we are going to move into our encryption, and in encryption we have created a KMS master key. So once you go into KMS master key, you can see here there is a drop down box available. From here you can select your key. Now you can see your key is visible over here. That is test key 1. Just select it. Go for next. It's showing you encryption is yes. So just check it out whether it has been yes or not. So if it is no, again go to your previous key and see whether you have selected a proper key master or not. Go for next and upload it. So this way you can encrypt your file. So you have attached the file with the encryption key, right? So you can check the properties of a file just by clicking on your test file 1. It will show you the complete description about it, right? You can make this as a public. If you want to make this file as a public, you can download the file, you can open the file, you can copy the path of a file, right? And this is a link which you can use for accessing this file. So it's showing you access is denied, right? Because we haven't used our encryption key over here. So this is the key ID which we have. You can use this key ID for accessing this particular file. So this is what exactly the link we have. This is the key ID we have. This is the key ID we created here. This is the server-side encryption which we have. So storage we have, that is a standard kind of storage, right? This is the owner. So everything is encrypted here, right? How we can use this key. Now here in the next session, we are going to see how to apply your AWS Shield and what is the AWS Shield, which is much more important for you to understand so that you can secure your AWS data. So keep watching and get upgraded.